Yeah, so here we have our Lionza. The name Lionza is actually a town in Switzerland, which is where our family immigrated from in the late 1800s when they came to the United States. So my father took some trips back to Switzerland, and he was talking to some of our relatives that still live there. Some people in the village was trying different cheeses. They even met with a few cheesemakers and ended up coming home with some ideas of how to make a cheese that was reflective of where we came from. And so here we have, a piece of the Lionza. Some of the descriptive words that we have for this cheese are smooth, tangy, and creamy. And when we use the word tangy, we've got to be really careful, right? What we mean by tangy is that it's got enough acidity that it's not overpowering, but that it gives you a little bit of a fruity type of flavor to it. It's also a cheese you've got to be really specific with your pairings, because if you use cheese that has a high acidity or a fruity type of flavor and you go with too fruity of a beer, sometimes it doesn't always work. But this cheese, I think it's got a good place in pairings. I actually think this cheese pairs, better with wine than it does with beer. I like to use a Pinot Noir, from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. That's usually a good area that pairs really well with our Lionza.
I remember when this first came out, and I was in, I believe my first time experiencing it was in Denver at a show there. And we paired it up with it was kind of a sourish beer, but it was an old world style. That was absolutely fabulous. I always remember that as just being such a classic. I think it was Sam Adams, one of their experimental beers that we had, but it was really good. And, one of the things that, having all three of these on here is we talked about them being, the first two being really crunchy. This one, I mean, you got a lot of elasticity to it, but it's such a beautiful cheese. This is just beautiful to work with, to hold, and to handle. A lot of butter. You can really feel some of the butter sweating off of it, and a little bit of nuttiness. I paired this up with a local beer. This is Cigar City, and this is the Tombega, and it is a red IPA. So you were talking about the Pinot Noir having that little bit of that real richness with it. Well, this has got a nice maltiness, but with that acidity, this kind of kicks it down. That hoppiness kicks that down and brings out the, I guess, nuttiness of that. And I'm pairing this up with a pear. This is Girl Meets Dirt, and it's an heritage pink Bartlett, and it just goes so well. Pears in this is just magnificent, and I've always advocated using spreads versus fruit. Spreads, all I have to do is open up the jar, and when I'm done I close the jar. With the fruit, I gotta get it, cut it, keep it cold, or do that. And then what do you do when if there's some left over? Here, I really like working with that spread. So, but I love this cheese. This is one of my favorites. And on a cheese board, you really think about it, with these three different cheeses, you really have that nice variety of differences to be able to please just about anybody's palate.
We've got a local restaurant here in Modesto that uses our Lionza on a dessert pizza, and they drizzle honey over the top of it. So you've got to try that cheese with some honey sometime.
That is so funny, because when I went to my source, when I went up to look through what I was going to be pairing with it earlier, and I was looking at the honey, and I was thinking, I should do honey. You know, I have like 20 honeys now, and I have an oak honey just out of Portugal, and I love that, and I thought about that, and but that's that I will do that. I will do that next. I'll do that next.